During the last millions of years, Indiana was once covered by an ancient sea. During the Ice Age, the state saw sheets of glaciated ice covering part of the state. The climate has changed during this time. We are going to discuss these changes to the climates, our ecosystems, and how we play a part. Let's join Damon, Senior Curator of Science and Technology, to learn more.
We had many animal species that you would normally associate with the Ice Age, such as mammoth and mastodons, but we also had many other animals that were adapted to the colder environments, such as Arctic shrews, muskox, and bison. With the warming of temperatures and meltback of ice, the former conifer forests were replaced by hardwood trees such as oak, hickory, and maple migrating up from the south. Modern habitats such as prairies, marshes, and northern Indiana lakes, central Indiana beech maple forests, and the oak hickory forests of the south were established. Many large mammals, such as mastodon and mammoth, became extinct, while some smaller animals, such as Arctic shrew and yellow-cheeked voles, migrated back to the north. Yet many animals, such as elk, deer, snakes, and fishes that had been in Indiana for thousands of years continued to thrive here. There are a variety of reasons for animals to go extinct, and the causes are not fully understood, but generally, it's thought that many Ice Age animals, such as mammoth and mastodon, went extinct due to loss of habitat, including critical food sources. As their populations got smaller, so did their gene pools, so eventually they had less genetic diversity, which also contributed to their decline. Other species didn't necessarily go extinct, they only went extinct here. That is, they're locally extinct, but they still occur elsewhere in the world. And there's a term for that, it's called being extirpated. Some species were extirpated from Indiana at the end of the Ice Age, but many other animals were already well suited to living here and just carried on with their normal lives, finding food, shelter, and mates. Humans have had a huge impact on India's landscape since the Ice Age. With the arrival of the Europeans came the large-scale alterations of the land, clearing of the old-growth forests that covered over 85% of the state, draining of the wetlands, and busting of the prairie sod to make productive farmland, as well as the fragmenting of animal habitats by building roads and railways across the state. The increasing human population needed more food, so more land was cleared for agriculture, which caused more sediment to run off into our waterways, causing issues with siltation and problems for fish and other aquatic animals. Industrialization and mechanization have caused increases in pollution, and humans have introduced several invasive species to our environment. Passenger pigeons were once the most abundant bird in North America, with flocks having millions of individual birds. John James Audubon, the famed ornithologist, was once traveling along the banks of the Ohio River in 1813 and described a flock of passenger pigeons as, "The air was literally filled with pigeons. The light of noonday was obscured as by an eclipse." There are stories of hunters shooting so many passenger pigeons so fast that their gun barrels glowed red. Unfortunately, this quickly led to a decline in the population of passenger pigeons, and by 1900 they had all but vanished from the wild, with the last wild one being shot in Indiana in 1902. Sadly, the species went extinct in 1914 when the last of its kind, Martha, died in the Cincinnati Zoo around 1 p.m. on September 1st of that year. The loss of the passenger pigeon as a species was a wake-up cry to biologists and conservationists, and in 1918, the federal government passed the Migratory Bird Act that gave protection to migratory birds. This legislation has set the precedent for all the other later wildlife protection laws, such as the Endangered Species Act and the Marine Mammal Protection Act. The changes in natural regions show many things. The primary takeaway is that there has been considerable change in Indiana's biodiversity over the last 200 years. Much of it has been caused by humans. We alter the landscape to suit our needs, either for food and shelter or for things like recreation and industrialization. Many animals that once thrived in Indiana no longer do. Some have gone extinct, like the passenger pigeon, and some have been extirpated, like the elk. Others have thrived with the changes. Species like the coyote, which was once confined to the small prairie areas of Indiana, but now occur statewide, and have adapted to occupy almost any niche they can find. New species have invaded from other places, outcompeting our native plants and animals, taking over their habitat and displacing the native species. The Natural Regions Gallery also shows how Indiana's landscape has changed through time. When European settlers first arrived here, they found the land covered by massive trees. What wasn't covered in trees was either a barren prairie or wetlands teeming with mosquitoes, so they quickly set to work altering it to suit their needs. They cut down the massive trees, drained the wetlands, and tilled the prairies, all for farmland. We try to show how Indiana has changed and the impact humans have had on the plants and animals across the state. One of the best ways to make a positive impact on our ecosystems and the community is to be respectful of nature and the animals and plants you find there. Don't litter, and if you see trash, try to pick it up. Don't touch or approach wild animals. Follow the rules of the park, nature preserve, or other property you are visiting. Join a club that celebrates and appreciates the outdoors. Go bird watching, hiking, or just pay more attention to your surroundings. You never know what you might discover.